is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live podcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you. 16 minutes past the hour of midnight. Yes, we had started our broadcast earlier on, but then power went off, and there was nothing I could do about that. It is Uganda for you. You expect the unexpected, and I think we're about, I don't know how many minutes, about 15 minutes or thereabout into the broadcast, or less than that, before power went off. But nonetheless, it is back and we are back. I do not know for how long. I cannot give any guarantees as to how long this one will last. If power does go off, unfortunately, we'll have to just call it a night. So, um, what can I even say? What can I even say? You'll allow me have our audios listed and then make sure everything checks out for purposes of this podcast. And we will get into the conversation. We'll say what we have to say for as long as we can say it and see where the conversation leads. That's if you guys decide to join the podcast. I hope, I wish, I hope, pray, think, and uh, hope again that you'll join the podcast. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to do it alone. I know it's very late in the night, especially for my Ugandan family, but it is what it is. um, what can I say? What do I start this for? Because PSG have just knocked out Bayern Munich. That game finished 1-1. I did not get the chance to see Bayern Munich's equalizer through Hurricane because power had gone off. It's just come back, and I do not know what to expect. I do not know. I, I mean, I only got the update after the game was finished. But first of all, I think it will go down as a very contentious game. Very contentious game. I think the referee got some decisions really, really wrong, and it did not. It did not look decent. It did not look decent. Why? Because a lot of people are focused on the handball, but according to the rules, if the ball hits the hand of a player when it is being played by his teammate, then it cannot be given as a foul or a penalty. But then, whereas that is the rule, it reminded me of the case of Manchester United when they were playing Everton, and Everton got a red card for Idris Kanake for his bit of a snafu with his teammate Michael Keane, and the referee gave him a red card. This was a bout between, okay, maybe bout is not the right word to use, but this was a fight between two teammates who you could have easily argued that it happens. It happens. But these are two teammates. You speak to them and let them get on with it. High reluctant gamer. You lost the chance to win the super chat. Unlucky. I mean, as you remember me saying yesterday that as unresolved about the game, and as we went through today, I kept thinking my mind was changed from the 3-2, but it is what it is. I did not just give it to you, but I also gave it in another platform. But if there is anything that I did that I was spot on, is that I never imagined that there was going to be lots of goals like there was in the first leg. French Fries FN says hi. Hi, French Fries FN. Where are you joining us from, French Fries? And by the way, who decided that they be called French fries? I don't know. But Reluctant Gamer, I hope you're doing all right. Reluctant Gamer joins us from the UK. I want to suspect, since he talks about money in pounds, and that is where, Reluctant Gamer, did you know that the British pound is the equivalent of approximately 4,500 Uganda shillings or even more? Anyways, I'll leave that to you. It's been my user for every platform. it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. I mean, it is unique in its own right, but it is what it is. So, anyways, it felt like a bit of an, I can't say an old game, but in terms of the officiating of the game, it never sat really really well with me in a way. And it's not like the referee committed so many gruesome mistakes that you would crucify him for, but I felt like he was overly dismissive of the concerns raised. For example, there's that particular moment where what's his name, where Nuno Mendes handles the ball and then he gives the free kick against Bayern Munich, and I'm thinking to myself, how did that just happen? As in, what's happened there for him to make that decision? You know, guys, everyone watching, like, yes, let them like the broadcast. Thank you so much. But also let me know where you're joining us from. It does me a great deal if people let me know where they're joining me from. Usually, I remember people's names in relation to where they are from. But for those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's already Thursday, 23 minutes past the hour of midnight. We should have come much earlier, and indeed we did come very early on, but yeah, the live was stopped prematurely or interrupted when power went off. It is what it is. It is Uganda. Anything can happen at any one time. That's why I'm working hard, hoping against hope, that I get money to get a UPS. It's called the uninterrupted power supply, so that once power goes off, at least I have a couple of minutes to get me going, especially for morning or day broadcasts. Because for the night, usually you need the light overhead to light the room and you get the conversation going. Otherwise, I'm already dark enough to be broadcasting in a dark room. Anyways, so like I said, the game in itself felt like it constantly felt like something was right, something wasn't happening right about it, and it had nothing to do with the selection of teams. It has, but I thought PSG went about their business excellently well. They were simply effective in what they wanted to do and what they wanted to achieve. Two, Bayern Munich never showed up. Really, you never felt their presence in the game to the extent of their strength in their attack. You never felt that presence. Yes, they had attempts on goal, but they were not the kind of hardcore attacks or strikes that forced Matavi Safanov into brilliant saves. And now, I don't know, but I think Arsenal's homework started today. I'm sure, because the final is now PSG versus Arsenal, and I don't know why Arsenal is the away side, whatever, but I'm sure they were at home watching, the Arsenal players, but more importantly the Arsenal coaches, taking down notes. As soon as PSG scored that early goal, they knew chances were it's going to be PSG in the final, and they've been taking their notes. They will be planning for this game. Yes, they still have business to take care of, in as far as the Premier League is concerned, to try and win it as well. But they'll be starting their homework early. Remember, they have a bone to pick off of PSG. PSG is the side that knocked them out of the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League last season. They beat them home and away, a goal to nil at the Emirates and by 2-1 at Parc des Princes. So Arsenal have a bone to pick with PSG. I do not know if it is what Bukayo Saka alluded to yesterday when he was asked who they wanted to face in the final, and he said they knew. Of course, he couldn't tell the rest of the world, but they knew who they wanted to face. In that sort of sense, it is in slightly a similar way to what you had between PSG having a bone to pick against Chelsea having beaten them in the finals of the FIFA Club World Cup over the summer, something like that. Gratdow Games says, what is the key for Arsenal to beat PSG? First of all, the first key is their biggest strength that they've had all throughout the entire campaign: defensive solidity. But also, based on what I've observed through today's game, and by extension, last week's game, is that David Raya will need to have one of his best days in office. Because if there's one thing that is with absolute certainty, is no matter how well you defend, PSG are bound to get chances. They are bound to break you. They are bound to break through. And they have these kinds of players that are really, really good and swift at striking the ball in the tightest of spaces. Desle Doué, Kivicha Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele. They do not need so much space to strike the ball on target. Oftentimes, you'll watch a strike from Kivicha Kvaratskhelia or an attempt from him hit the target, And the commentator was saying like 95%, 95 out of 100 times he's hitting the target. And they're quick. So, one, Arsenal will need to bring their absolute A-plus game defensively, composure, counter press, but also the goalkeeper will need to have a good day in office. I do not anticipate or even suspect that it will be similar to what we saw last season when PSG obliterated Inter Milan 5-0 in the final. But PSG are a kind of team that is capable of that. And the moment they score an early goal against you, you're always going to find it tough in the game because they have that aura about them. Once they go ahead in the game, they go about their business excellently. They defend well, they attack really well, they're quick on transitions, they're quick on counterattacks. They have so many dimensions about their game and tactical flexibilities through which they can, get the better of you. But today, I felt in today's game, Bayern Munich never really felt like the Bayern Munich we watched throughout the entire campaign. When you look at their XG was 0.93. I mean, we are talking about Bayern Munich who scored a combined total of about 10 goals against Atlanta. That was at the round of 16. Then PSG had a 0.65 expected goal expectation, but even with that, they had 6 shots on target, only 1 off target, whereas Bayern Munich had 4 shots on target and 7 off target. Like I said, Bayern Munich were not effective in everything that they did. They struggled for effectiveness, but also in that struggle for effectiveness, that's where the effectiveness of PSG was, because they made it hard for them. They made it hard for Luis Diaz to have comfort on the ball. He's a very direct guy. They made Michael Olise almost absent, particularly in the second half, because in the first half he had some moments. He had 2 chances that he put off target, but you felt like he was largely quiet in the second half. Of course, I did not conclude the game like I told you guys. I stopped around the 70-something minutes, and then power went off, and I had to rely on live score for the goal update, for the equalizer. But all throughout the game, you never felt like Bayern Munich came out of their shell. They never did. It almost felt like PSG were up against the Newcastle side. They will have moments going forward, but they're just not cracking it open, So that's how the game felt for me. I don't know how it felt for you. You can still let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, Bayern Munich have been knocked out 6-5 on aggregate score. And when you look at the scorelines, in terms of goal scored, you also are reminded, you remember PSG, when they knocked out Monaco, it was 5-4 on aggregate score. Against Liverpool, it was 4-0. That was at the quarter-finals. I'm trying to remember who they played at the round of 16. But in vain. Let me try to find who that was, who they played at the round of 16. But if you do certainly remember them, you can let me know quickly or quickly in the comment section. Who did PSG play at the round of 16? So, but that game will be played on Saturday, 30th May. That is when the UEFA Champions League final will be played at the Puskás Arena in Hungary, Budapest. It is a 67,000 seater, is it? Most probably. Yes, a 67,000 seater, and each team that has gone through to the final is given 17,000 tickets. Um, that's for access to their fans directly. That's a combined total of about what 34,000, and then that means the other 32,000, 33,000 will go to the general public, the neutrals. Let's say you're a Real Madrid fan, you some form of celebrity that wants to go to the game, that kind of thing. The home football fans in Hungary, that kind of thing. Those that can afford the tickets are the ones they are reserved for. Then I've learned already from the handle of Arsenal on X that Arsenal will be organizing a watch party at the Emirates Stadium, or a watch event for the final, because they know majority of their fans are not going to be able to make it to Hungary because of the limited number of tickets. I mean, if week in, week out, they are capable of filling their 60,000 seater stadium, what makes you think that they cannot commit 20,000 fans, let alone 3,000, less of that, to go to Hungary in Budapest? So that is where the final will be played. Remember, that's where the final of the UEFA Europa League 2023 was played. That Sevilla, I think, won 4-1 on post-match penalties, beating AC Roma. Jose Mourinho was in charge of AC Roma at the time. So that's where the final is going to be played, at the Puskás Arena in Budapest. In terms of these two sides, in terms of the finalists, PSG head-to-head with Arsenal is that they've met about 5 times, one win only for the Arsenal, and that was the 2-0 victory at the league phase last season. And then you'll find 2 wins for PSG, which was the home and away, a win at the semi-finals, and 2 draws prior. But that's basically about it. That's basically about it in regards to what you should expect from the final. I'm trying to look through who PSG played at the round of 16. Yes, round of 16 PSG. Who were they up against? They were up against Chelsea. Yes, PSG knocked out Chelsea, so they knocked out Monaco. Chelsea. Now you can see the trend of this. There is such a high scoring team. Monaco 5-4. That's at the playoff. Chelsea at the round of 16 was 8-2. Then they come to the quarterfinals, where they knocked out Liverpool 4-0, and then Bayern Munich was 6-5. So they're such a high scoring team that Arsenal will be up against. Arsenal on the other side have not been highly scoring. Today I was talking about them and how they've sort of had to drag themselves onto the final, given that they've not scored too many goals, especially at the knockout rounds. You go back to the round of 16, they went through 3-1 on aggregate after 1-all draw and a 2-0 victory win at home against Bayer Leverkusen. Then against Sporting in the quarterfinals, 1 goal took them through. Then at the semi-finals, it was 2-1 on aggregate. And as reminding people of, you have to go back to that season of 1987 and 1988, when PSG were crowned champions. You ought to go back that far to find a team, one of the teams that literally are known to have dragged their way into the final, and they beat Benfica 6-5 on post-match penalties that preceded a goalless draw. But on their way, they knocked out teams like SK, Rapid. They knocked out, I think, Real Madrid, was it at the quarterfinals, and then was it Stuart Bucharest at the semis, and no, Stuart Bucharest were knocked out by Benfica, but they knocked out Real Madrid at the semi-finals. But prior to that, who did they knock out? There's a prominent team. I need to remember. But the way they went about their business, and yes, it was Bordeaux. Yes. So in all their games, at the semi-final, it was 1-1 away at the Santiago Bernabeu between PSV and Real Madrid. The reverse fixture ended goalless, and therefore they went through on our goals rule. Then when you reverse back to the quarterfinals, when they met when they met Bordeaux of France, not Bordeaux Glimot of Norway, Bordeaux. It was a goalless draw at when they were in Netherlands, but they had played to a 1-all draw in France. So again, they went through on away goals rule. Then when you sort of drift back to the round of 16, the round of 16, I think that is when they played SP Rapids. Actually, it is SK Rapid. Around that time, they played SK Rapid and they knocked them out. They beat them 2-0 at home. Really, they had won the reverse fixture by 2-1. So that's the only round where they had that sort of scoreline that was really, really promising. So in a similar way or in a similar fashion, I was trying to relate the two, where you had a team drag itself through to the finals, and they went on to win it. So Arsenal's defensive solidity will come in handy if they can maintain that sort of composure and discipline. Raymond Kanguba says, hi, Arsenal versus PSG. Arsenal and PSG in the final, that's for sure. Arsenal will win the final, and the Champions League trophy for Arsenal. That is from Raymond. Raymond Kangumba, thank you so much for always chipping in. I like that you did accept my sincere appeal to you to sort of keep in pace with the topics that we discuss, as opposed to only talking about Newcastle. I'm really, really appreciating what you're doing. Sometimes your grammatical submission may not be perfect, but at least I appreciate it for what it is, that you're taking the effort to look beyond just Newcastle when we come on to discuss here. So thank you so much, and God bless you. So really, it's going to be that. Now back to tonight's game. Somebody posed the question, and I found this on X during the power blackout for me. He asked the question, or he posed the question: can the referee be substituted off? In other words, that's how disappointed he was in the performance of the match official, particularly. But yes, a referee can be substituted only if he's injured or doesn't feel in the proper condition to continue with the game. Excuse me. He can be substituted off. So, regardless of what you made of the referee tonight, it's quite a very, very I mean, some decisions were very unfortunate, were regrettable. They're almost bad. It's like, you know, in the game of football, no matter how much you criticize the referee, he must leave us room to give him the benefit of that. You know? You must give him the benefit, like he must leave you the room to give him a benefit of that, to say maybe he has not seen this clearly, maybe here this is how he's seen it, and that kind of thing. But for some of the bad decisions that happened tonight was that it felt like it almost felt like it almost felt like in some decisions he was deliberate against he was deliberate in taking them against Bayern Munich. And these were not game defining decisions, like where it should have been a penalty and he didn't give it. I've explained to you the handball in the area. When was it the captain Marquinhos who was trying to clear the ball and it hit the arm of was it Marquinhos or Vitinha? One of the two, and it hit the arm of Joao Neves, and Bayern Munich wanted a handball, or they wanted a penalty for the handball. And according to the interpretation of the rules, at least I'm coming to learn, is that if the ball is from your teammate and it strikes your arm, then it's not a penalty or it's not a foul. At least I'm coming to learn of that. So now, I mean, But beyond that, they're not those kinds of decisions where you thought, yeah, that's a game-defining decision, that it is in the box and therefore it should be a penalty, you know. But again, you sense that some of the, when a team is playing at home, there are certain decisions they are bound to get. The 50-50 sometimes. But you felt like Bayern Munich were not getting all of that. And it only worked to the frustration of Vincent Company, his players on the pitch, the fans inside the Allianz Arena. They were really, really enraged. And I saw the first tweet as soon as the game ended came from Troll Football to when they dressed up the referee in a PSG kit, So it's really, really that kind of at least in a way, a fan may have felt that way. If a fan may have felt that way, but like I said, for me overall, the performance from Bayern Munich was wanting beyond what you think did not go right for them, or where the referee sort of did not handle the issues really well. Beyond that, it sort of it just wasn't their day. It just wasn't their day. It's just that, and in saying it wasn't their day, also on the other side in Ras, you ought to give the credit for PSG for having come with the sort of game plan to keep Bayern Munich quiet, because it really, really worked out. And you remember, for those of you that were part of the preview, I did say that I made reference to the game that Liverpool played against the same side at Anfield, and how controlled it was, how Liverpool did everything to try and score but could not score, and yet it was PSG that at the tail end of the game, in two different moments, I think around the 70-something minute and very late on, through Ousmane Dembele, found the two goals that won the game by 2-0. So really, you when you reflect on that and compare to what they played today, you clearly understand that PSG are capable of that sort of game. So so the referee was Joao Pinheiro from Portugal. That's the referee who was in charge, Joao Pinheiro. I hope I'm pronouncing this one right. Pinheiro, something like that. That was the match official from tonight. Showing PSG showing Arsenal that they can defend too. That is Ash FCB. Exactly. They just show. And by the way, you know how people come up with their double standards. Apparently, the one all between Arsenal and Atletico de Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitanos, or the Riyadh Air Stadium, was boring, and yet tonight is one all was very entertaining, with the two of the most entertaining teams in Europe. Well, if that's not the double standards, I do not know what. But guys, allow me to send out my special shouts out to Samantha Dakota from Holland or Netherlands. She had joined our earlier broadcast, and as soon as she she said hello, no sooner had I completed her first comment than power went off. And unfortunately, she's not been able to rejoin us for this second part, or for this part of the re-aired broadcast. So special shout outs to you, Samantha. If you do get to watch this, please, thank you for having joined us earlier. Okay. Ash says, Ash FCB says, but I feel this will be a close final. If Arsenal score the first goal, Arteta will show us generational haram ball. Now, that is possible. And this is what I started with earlier on. I said, when I think it was it Reluctant Gamer? No. It was Gratidao Games who asked me about the game in itself, what I think about it. And I said this: whoever scores first in that game will have an advantage. But usually, PSG have a knack for getting that first goal, and they oftentimes get a goal very early, or they try to get a goal very early on, because they know that an early goal is a disruptor. It sort of disorganizes your Reluctant. Is here too? Yes, Reluctant Gamer is here. He's my friend. He's your friend. Wow, what a coincidence. Where are you from, Ash? You know, there's a colleague we normally interact with on TikTok in live forums, or on Nando Live. For those of you that are privy to that, um, that we often interact with. So when I read Ash, in fact, in my head, I first thought, oh, maybe that's it. But anyways, so PSG have that about their side. I'm from India. I'm a Barcelona fan since the last 16 years. Wow, that's impressive. That means you get back to 2011 or late 2010, but okay, that's beautiful to know. So, I mean, when you look at how the two teams go about their business, PSG have shown they can have defensive discipline. And by the way, remember in the first leg of the semi-finals of the same competition last year, PSG showed that they are also capable of the defensive side. Yes, Arsenal played in a little bit of a conservative manner, but they showed that side of them that they can defend. But also, when you go back to the reverse fixture that they won 2-1, you remember the opening 25 minutes of that game when Gianluigi Donnarumma made some brilliant saves. One was off of Martin Odegaard and things like that. Even then they showed they can defend. They have the composure for it because Arsenal were relentless in those opening 25 minutes. You know, they're really so good at attacking them, but they showed that they can defend. So, but also on the other side, PSG, what you call haram football from Arteta, or that you think that Arteta is capable of playing, PSG are capable of playing that. Look at how they went about their game after after taking that lead through Ousmane Dembele as early as the 3rd minute. So, yes, they were still attacking, but they were very controlled and measured in when they commit to going forward and how they maintained, they put all 10 men behind the ball when they were under attack, you know. So, ordinarily, you would have them commit at least 2-3 players within the center arc area, but they're pushing really deep in to try and defend. So they're very good at both sides of the game. They are very tactically flexible team, just as much as Arsenal are. When you bring the counter-attacking game to Arsenal, Arsenal can bring it to you. When you go for the defensive game, they can also do that. When you go for attacking end-to-end football, they can do it, but Mikel Arteta is a bit risk averse. He's not like a Vincent Company in a way that he's just going to go all the way for it. No, he's a bit measured in the way he goes about it. But when you want that kind of end-to-end football, they're capable of giving it to you. You say it's gonna be attack versus defense, but I feel PSG will not go full throttle because it's final. It's a final. Arteta might start with a mid-block. They will try to hurt PSG on set pieces. Again, now, set pieces are part of one of their emojis or one of their strongest suits. But let's forget not that Arsenal, take away the Newcastle goal, which was from a set piece, but started as a short corner, and remind me that last time you saw Arsenal score from a direct set piece, whether it was a free kick or whether it was a corner where it ended in a headed ball into the back of the net, or at least the ball is recycled and then it ends up in the back of the net after a corner. So in recent times, they've not been very effective about that. But also, the other thing that teams have done is to avoid conceding many corners against Arsenal, because they know that the Arsenal is capable of hurting them through corners. But also, if you did observe against Atletico de Madrid, they look to take short corners. So in that way, and it's a different strategy of going about it, but they can also go long. You know how they put men at the back post or some at the near post and at the front of it. You say both teams have good players, but PSG have better 1v1 players. Plus, Lucho is an experienced manager. His in-game management is top notch. You couldn't be more spot on with that. When it comes to, okay, if you assess the two teams, player for player, I must be honest, based on current form or over the last 2 years, I do not think there's many PSG players that you're going to pull out of that PSG team and say, accommodate this Arsenal player. That, if I'm being honest. Currently, if you want to Desiree Due versus Bukayo Saka. I feel currently Desiree Due is better. Kivicha Kvaratskhelia versus Leandro Trossard or Gabriel Martinelli. I feel Kivicha is miles better. You look at the center guy, Ousmane Dembele, 19 goals this season, versus Victor Gyökeres. Victor Gyökeres has 21. I don't know how you slice that one, but Ousmane Dembele, there's a reason as to why he's a Ballon d'Or winner. You drift to the midfield. I think maybe, what happens? You pull out a Fabian Ruiz and throw in a Declan Rice. That's because Fabian Ruiz for a good chunk of the season was out through injury, and that's why Warren Zaire-Emery was playing there. At right back, if they have Achraf Hakimi, you would put him ahead of Ben White. At left back, you would put Nuno Mendes ahead of any Arsenal left back they may offer. Now, if it is Achraf Hakimi versus Julian Timber, you may have cause for contention, for debate. If you want a guy that goes in front really well, Achraf Hakimi. If you want a guy that defends better, very physically solid, is not a pushover, Julian Timber is your guy. So they are. But currently it's Ben White that is available, so Achraf Hakimi will be the guy. Nonetheless, Achraf Hakimi was injured. I think he has a hamstring injury, so he missed tonight's game, and it was Warren Zaire-Emery that played in that role. When we go for the goalkeepers, Matevi Safanov, I think I would go for David Raya in that sort of sense. When you go to the centre-back pairing, maybe, just maybe, the two Arsenal centre-backs are a bit better, in my humble opinion. Nonetheless, I would not argue with somebody. I would not argue against it with somebody that would choose, let's say, a Marquinhos over Gabriel Magalhaes. I would not argue with them because at 31 years of age, he's a very, very experienced guy. He's been there at the through it all. He was there in the 2020 final when they lost to Bayern Munich by 0-0. He sort of feels like he's been at PSG literally for forever, So, but if there's one thing that Gabriel Magalhaes will offer you better than Marquinhos is when you go in the offensive. We know Big Gabi is the goal contributor, and especially in set pieces, You say Kvaratskhelia is a top player. He's dribbling, he's shooting, he's 1v1, plus the work rate he puts on tracking back for defending with what a player, man. Yeah, he's just sensational on that. Hi Prince, how are you doing? Good to have you on the podcast. You say even though Hakimi was injured, Warren Zaire-Emery did a great job neutralizing Luis Diaz. Yeah, I thought he did excellently well on the night. William Pacho was top 2. He was the best player on the pitch, in your opinion. Well, they're all good players. PSG just have a very, very decent team. And as looking over their bench, and they have some good players there. Lucas Hernandez, when you look at Seny Mayuru, Ibrahim Mbaye, these are guys that do not play regularly, but they're really good. Lee Kang-in, another good player. Goncalo Ramos, according to Fabrizio Romano, he will be leaving the club in the summer. But yeah, that starting 11 is really, really good. You saw they withdrew Ousmane Dembele and brought on Bradley Barcola. And the thing about that front three is actually, the thing about the entirety of their team is they are so fluid. So fluid. Now, when you look at the midfield and the front three that they start with, they go all over the place. I describe PSG, how they go about their game, like a revolving door. If you know a revolving door, it does not open to one side or the other. It simply keeps going around. If you've walked into those big buildings, the high rises, you know what a revolving door looks like. So, like, Ousmane Dembele will start centrally, but then oftentimes you're going to see it's Desiree Doué there, and then Dembele is on the wing. Kivicha Kvaratskhelia is all over the place, switching wings and like that, left, right, and center. So they're so fluid and dynamic about their thing. Same thing goes about their midfield. Joao Neves will go in front, Vitinha will stay, then the reverse will happen. Vitinha will be all over the place. Before you know it, Fabian Ruiz is popping up in the right area and is shooting at goal and that kind of thing. So they're very, and then once they're pushing you up, then oftentimes Akraf Hakimi and Nuno Mendes are quick to join the attack, and or Nuno Mendes is inverting into that midfield, so they do a lot of things really, really well. They have such a good squad at depth. Even the players from the bench are top. That's indeed true. But then the other thing that I wanted to focus on that you mentioned rightly is the experience of Luis Enrique. I think we cannot underestimate that. When you look at both teams, I think they are capable of cancelling each other out if they decide to play maybe a defensive game or a game that is 50-50. They are capable of cancelling each other out. But the differences would be in two places. The managers, Luis Enrique, very experienced guy, won the treble with Barcelona in 2015. I remember they beat Juventus 3-1 in the finals of the UEFA Champions League. Last season, we all know what they did to Inter Milan. And this is his third UEFA Champions League final that he's going to manage. He's never lost any, by the way. But then, so the manager's experience and the individual quality in those players, especially the PSG front three, could be the difference makers in that game. You say after 2 goals up on aggregate, they managed the game so well by playing pragmatic. Bayern Munich was playing high, but still scarce because players like Dembele, Kivicha, Due are always threatening. Now, I looked at Ian Kappa, that is Kato. Hello, mate. Thanks for the show. I think that's what you meant. Ian is a twin. Greetings, Ian. How is Waswa, your brother? I hope you're doing okay. Thank you for joining us. And now, what was I saying? Yes, the thing about Bayern Munich today, and I observed it right from the onset, because they wanted to play on the front foot, they played a very high line. Now, it is really, really dangerous to play a high line. It's really, really a dangerous game to play a high line. Why? Because PSG have very fast players, and you can see that Kivicha Kvaratskhelia basically beats them for pace before he plays the cutback. But look at it. By the time he plays the cutback for Ousmane Dembele, you have 3 PSG players in that 18th box. How fast they get forward is also impressive. And their work rate is really, really high. It looks like they never tire. And I remember, I think Thierry Henry asked this of Ousmane Dembele about their work rate and discipline. And Ousmane Dembele said, if you do not run, then Henrique will bench you. And it's just that. It's that simple. You must put in the work shift. When it comes to work rate, I would want to believe if there's any team that would have gone toe-to-toe with this PSG side, would have been Liverpool of Jurgen Klopp, because Jurgen Klopp had that about his team. The work rate of that team of Henderson, Gianluigi Donnarumma, Gini Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Sadio Mane, Firmino, Mo Salah, that team, they would have gone toe-to-toe with this PSG side when it comes to work rate, now that I think of it. It will be Rice versus Joao Neves. We will see who is the real dog. Now, the one thing I like about Joao Neves, first of all, is added goals to his game. He also operates in that sort of box-to-box area really, really well. And you saw he forced Manuel Neuer into a save. He's a guy with diminutive height. In fact, somebody was having a chat about it, and he said, you're looking at this 20-year-old who has the height of a 12-year-old, the experience of a 27-year-old, and that's what sums him up, Because when that free kick is floated in, usually he's not the player that you think is going to hit the ball. But watch them a lot of times in their set pieces. He's the guy that gets at the end of the ball. It sort of reminds me at a time of when Martin Zubimendi was heading balls in with Arsenal or getting at the end of corners. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the shortest guy in the team that is on the pitch. How is he getting on the end of balls? Is it that, he's ignored or somehow, somewhere, Okay, if we have a good defense, even we can go toe-to-toe. We have good attack. okay, I want Deco to sign an experienced centre back and a good number 9 this season if we want at least a chance at the UEFA Champions League. A good number 9, yeah. But the question is, who would be your options for that good number 9? Think of the options, because remember, the strikers market is not as is not as rich as that of midfielders. So think about it that way and give me some suggestions. I'll give you my opinion on who I think Barcelona should target or would be an ideal striker for Barcelona. You say, and then when it comes to an experienced defender, that's true, because I mean, Pau Kubasi, Ed Garcia, yeah, you feel that that backline needs a bit of leadership. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, when Barcelona play with Ronald Araujo on the pitch, defensively they're a bit better. They're a bit different. Yes, they still play with the same high line because that's Hans Flick, how he goes about his game, but you sort of feel that they're a bit better. Do you think Arsenal has a better chance, or it's PSG has the better chance, mate? Now, I'll be honest, it feels like PSG have the better chance for about 3 reasons. 1, they are the reigning champions. 2, the experience of Luis Enrique. 3, the quality in that squad, especially from midfield and going forward. But you can also not ignore the defense. We've mentioned about Nuno Mendes and Hakimi. So the quality around that team. Remember, this is the same team that got to the finals last year. It's the same team. Nothing has changed for them. So consistently they play together. Then you look. That's where I think the difference is. But the one thing I wanted to ask: when was the last time you remember a first-time winner advanced to a subsequent consecutive final? PSG have written history because this is their, okay, no, for them it's not their first, but a first-time winner going to back-to-back finals. When did it happen? I don't remember it happening in the era of the UEFA Champions League. When you got to the European Cup back in the history before it transitioned into the the UEFA Champions League, the story may be different. But so, where I think, of course, we cannot dissolve Arsenal of their quality. We've talked about their defense. We've talked about their goalkeeper, David Raya, and that he would need to be at the best or the top of his game if they are to have a chance, But the other thing is a myth. The myth is that I have never seen a team win the UEFA Champions League for the first time and win it back to back. When you go to Chelsea in 2012, remember their first final had been in 2008. They came in 2012 and won it. After that, they did not win it until 2021. Would you want to imagine or think that in between 2012 and 2021, Chelsea never had a side good enough to win it? No. Manchester City, their first final was in 2021. Next final, 2023, won it in 2023. Have they returned to the final? Not just yet. Arsenal's first final was back in 2006, so this is their only second in the history. But also, PSG, their first final was in 2020 against Bayern Munich. They lost that one. Kingsley Coman scored that goal in the 59th minute that decided the tie. Now, last season, they made it to the final. I did not anticipate, by the way, that they would get to the final. I thought they would be knocked out somewhere along the way. I did not anticipate that they would get to the final. So, because it's not a surprise, because they are good and capable enough of getting there. So, but if I had to look for the positives on the Arsenal side, there's that myth of a first-time winner not defending the crown, but it's impossible until somebody does it. So it's not to be a point. But like I said, also Arsenal have a bone to pick with this PSG side. It's the side that knocked them out of the UEFA Champions League last season. If you know a thing or two about Mikel Arteta, he likes to plot a revenge. He may not always be perfect about it. It may not always come out, but he loves a revenge. He loves to motivate his players through a revengeful manner. And I often make reference to that game at the start of the 2021-2022 Premier League season, when the Arsenal lost the opening 3 games of the season. But the first game of the season was between Arsenal and Nottingham and Brentford, which they lost by 2-0. Ivan Toney among the goal scorers on the night. You remember Arsenal had players that had suffered COVID-19. They has requested for the game to be rescheduled or be moved, and the Premier League said no, or they objected. So the next time they met Brentford, you remember in the Amazon documentary, if you had a chance to watch it, he reminded them Ivan Toney's tweet after the game, nice kick about with the boys. So, whereas PSG did not say anything much after knocking them out, he has that thing of trying to plot a revenge. And we know in a one-off game, Arsenal really capable of going toe-to-toe with any team in Europe. And we've seen it. They've beaten Inter Milan are the champions of Italy. They've beaten Bayern Munich. They are the champions of the Bundesliga. They've knocked out Atletico de Madrid. They are currently fourth on the La Liga, standings. And so yeah, those are some really, really decent opponents. And okay, let me read back to some of your questions. I hope I've answered you, Ian, really well. Then my pick is Osimhen. Yamal feeding Osimhen would be pick. Okay, I've had the Osimhen rumors, but I do not find Victor Osimhen a Barcelona striker, a Barcelona type striker. But nonetheless, I do appreciate that a Barcelona that has played with Robert Lewandowski can play with a Victor Osimhen. A Barcelona that has played before with a Samuel Eto'o, with Zlatan Ibrahimovic can definitely find space to accommodate Victor Osimhen. But ideally, Julian Alvarez would be the perfect striker for Barcelona. Good with both legs, very industrious, good in dead ball situations. He's just a complete guy. Feed him the service, he will bang in the goals. And I would imagine the chemistry that he would have with Lamine Yamal, because he can dart on either side of the flanks and then accommodate you space, darting in if you're Lamine Yamal or if you're Rafinha coming in from the other side. So I find him ideal for Barcelona. I don't know if Barcelona are capable of going to Atletico de Madrid and poach him out, but he would be an ideal candidate. Kubasi is top at his age, but he needs a senior centre-back pair who can lead the backline. I heard Baka is trying for Bastoni. He would be a better pairing, as we need a left-footed centre-back. Now, yeah, it is true. Barcelona are interested in signing Sandro Bastoni from Inter Milan. We are only waiting to see if that deal will materialize. Then, as you say, Madrid won 3 UEFA Champions League back-to-back. That's true. But Real Madrid were not first-time winners. Remember, they had won it in 2014, and that was their La Decima. But prior to that, they had won it in 2002. And then you can go back to dating as many yesteryears as possible. But I meant a team that was winning it for the first time. That's where the myth is. But yeah, anything is possible in football. Anything is possible. You see, even CAF sat somewhere and decided that Morocco be crowned champions after the game was decided across 120 minutes, and Senegal were champions. Anyways, jokes aside, but I understand where you're coming from. But it wasn't 2015 to 2018. It was 2016, 2017, and 2018. Because 2015, it was Barcelona that won. You say it's almost 4 a.m. for me, my G. I already subbed. See you later. Thank you so much, Ash, for your valuable insights and take on the game and being a great contributor to the conversation. Even for me, it's 11 minutes past 1 a.m. here in Kampala, Uganda. Like I said, I'm late because we botched a broadcast because power went off. We botched the broadcast. We had started around 11:30. So in other words, by now we would have been what? If we had continued without interruption, Okay, I understand what you mean. Okay, thanks, Ash. And we made the sky and we made the sky a protected ceiling. Okay. Okay. You say earlier on, you said the problem with Alvarez is he's more of a 10 than a 9. We have creative players. We want that one guy to give the output at the final third. That's why I pick Oshman. Like I said, I understand where you're coming from with that. But you see, the thing about Julian Alvarez, he can be what you want him to be. He's, I mean, we've seen all sorts of players be changed in terms of positioning. You know, look at Usman Dembele. He almost plays like a striker, but he's not a striker. You know, he's ordinarily a 10 slash winger, but he plays as a striker and he bangs in the goals. And then, because remember, Barcelona pride themselves in being a team that has many goal scorers. Go back to last season and look at the numbers of Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, you know, all banging in the goals. In addition to what Lewandowski's banging in, Ferran Torres, you know, and then the others add on to that. So, in a way, you know, and the reason as why I want dynamic players is that you see when you have a striker, in a way, sometimes it deludes teams into that over-reliance on that target man, the way Manchester City sometimes can be reliant on Erling Haaland, you know. But when you have that sort of player who you know you can convert into a typical 9, but if need be that Lamine Yamal is absent, Rafinha is absent, he can accommodate, you know, he can be accommodated playing off of the wing. Look at Kylian Mbappe. He's not a typical 9. Kylian Mbappe is not a typical 9. And yet he bangs in the goals. He likes to drift off to the left side and come through that side and bang in the goals. He's not a typical 9, you know. So he's not your Robert Lewandowski. He's not your Hurricane. He's not your Olivier Giroud. He's not your Osimhen. Okay, you say this is unknown. Unknown user says every soul will test death, then to us you will be returned. Oh, cryptic, but death is a constant in life, just like taxes. Alvarez is good, but he will be bullied by teams like Arsenal. I see your worries. Anyways, you say Osimhen is more dominant compared to him. That's true. He's more dominant. He's very physically imposing. He's not a pushover. He's not a pushover. Victor Osimhen. But then you guys have limitations when it comes to wages. In the Spanish La Liga, this is the guy that seems to be hungry for the money. He wants the money. I do not know. Maybe it does reduce his demands, but you guys have those caps on. Okay, not necessarily caps on wages, but when it comes to the overall squad and things like that, there's a way Tebas has made the rules to sort of limit you guys in a way. If we want to replace Lewandowski, we need someone who can match the physicality. One of your presidential contenders or one of your presidential candidates was promising to bring you Brad Erling Haaland, you know. Oh, sorry guys. You know what I forgot today? Just realized my microphones. Thank God. I didn't even notice. But anyway, luckily I was audible enough for you guys to be able to hear me. But you say, you know what I forgot today? you say if we want to replace, okay, no, I've read that. Also, Alvarez will be expensive. Osimhen is more budget friendly comparatively. That's true. If you're going to get Julian Alvarez, you may need to cough no less than 100 million euros plus. And yet, on the other side, for Victor Osimhen, he could cost a bit less. Then Africa Will Never Unite says Osimhen is always asking for bigger wages, which is crazy. Yeah, I was just mentioning that he loves the money. He wants a big paycheck. That's why I think some Premier League teams, regardless of their money that they do have, decided to stay clear of him. I know Chelsea were interested. I know Manchester United explored the option. I do not know to what extent, but they all did explore. Lewandowski is most probably leaving, so the wage gap will be a bit free. I mean, it depends. It depends because if you're talking about signing an elite centre back, he's also going to ask for more. You know, they won't cap cheap. I do not mean to say that Barcelona are not capable of paying a player their worth, but you know the overall squad and finance rules when it comes to the Spanish La Liga and those sort of caps. The sort of thing that you largely do not have elsewhere, apart from maybe leagues like the US Major League Soccer, you know, and that kind of thing. But yeah, Robert Lewandowski should go away. Eric, what's his name? Eric, is it Eric? I'm trying to remember the name. The defender who was wanted by Como. Como nearly signed him. He nearly joined Cesc Fabregas's side. Eric Garcia, yes, Eric Garcia. So, I mean, then also remember Ter Stegen will be leaving. Chances. You need a third choice goalkeeper or backup goalkeeper. You know, he will be leaving for good. Of course, Thingy signed a 2-year contract, so he's still there for another year. That is Wojciech Szczesny. Joan Garcia is a good piece of investment. Jules Koundé, Ronald Araujo, Pau Kubasi, Gerard Martin. Then the midfield, I think Gavi is troubled with so many injuries, but he's a very decent guy. He's a very decent player. Pedri is okay. Frankie de Jong is okay. Marc Casado, good guy, but sometimes, given his age, that immaturity is bound to show sometimes. Good guy when it comes to the attack, not much complaining. Dani Olmo coming in, Fermin Lopez, Ferran Torres, Marcus Rashford. What did you make of Marcus Rashford and his debut campaign with Barcelona? Eric, I know you want to sign up, but what did you make of Marcus Rashford? I know Barcelona have been negotiating to get him on another season loan deal, but they're supposed to pay. I mean, Barcelona, can't you really cost 30 million euros for Marcus Rashford if you really want him? Why are they tiptoeing about this deal? If you want him, take him for what it is. You know what you get with him. You know, you say we have money, but just that 1-1 rule has been a pain in the, yeah, I understand. Eric will be needed because he's versatile. He's missing. He's our mini Sergio Roberto. Okay. We need to sell Araujo, Christensen. How much money are you going to get out of Christensen? Ansu Fati, of course, is going to Monaco, but that's only 11 million euros. I mean, Ansu Fati. Football, and it's some of its greatest promising talents. Ansu Fati will always be one of those. He came through and he was given the shirt number 10, and you know, the world was really, really looking forward to him being an excellent player, but it's just not materialized for him. Talking about Rashford, I don't want to spend 30 million on a bench player. You don't want to spend 30 million on a bench player? Barcelona, when was the last time you spent money on a player? I mean, I understand you had your financial conundrum, and then that's when Xavi came in, and you had to look more inwards and get to the academy, the Lamine Yamals, the Pedris, the Gavis, you know, that kind of thing. I understand. The Ansu Fatis of this world, the Pau Kubasis, I understand. Okay. You say, okay, you say he can be brought on one more loan season, but 30 million for Rashford. Nah, man, he's very inconsistent. Okay, if you say so, Arsenal will win it all. That is from Is it Chesna? Forgive me if I pronounce your name the wrong way. Or is it Cecina or Chesna? How do you pronounce your name? I hope I'm doing it justice. I wouldn't want to crucify your name, but apologies if I've mispronounced it. You say Arsenal will win it all. Of course, that will be the ideal. It will be the dream for every Arsenal fan out there. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how things will span out. Because right now, the celebrations of qualifying for the final, those ones ended yesterday. Today they've had their day off. I'm anticipating tomorrow they may do some light recovery training and then begin preparing for Chesinia, Chesinia, Chesin, Cesinia. Okay, all right. But apologies. Okay, so yeah, I was telling you, Arsenal, okay, thank you. So Arsenal had done, today was their recovery day. I think today was their day off. I anticipate, I'm only assuming, I do not know for an absolute fact, but I would assume. And tomorrow, which is already Thursday, which is today for me, will be maybe their light recovery training, and they begin planning for that crucial West Ham game. Their work is cut out for them. The writing is on the wall. What they need to do to get things over the line, in as far as winning the Premier League title is concerned. For the Champions League, that one is not. It is in their hands just as much as it is in their opponent's hands. You say we are restricted financially, so we need to manage the budget, man. If I had our hands free, we would bring Haaland. But what can we do? No money. I understand the cost of the stadium also is also there, and among other things. Now, there's a Barcelona fan who are from Spain. He's called Pedri. He's oftentimes a regular here. Unfortunately, these last couple of days, I think he's dealing with exams or something, but very busy with school. When I talk about the money with Barcelona, to that effect, he disagrees. He thinks or he is of the view that they have all the money they need in the bank. I'm of the different view, but that's his submission about it. You say, good night, broski. All right, broski. That's a new phrase. That's a new slang for me, broski. Anyways, for those of you that may be wondering, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I do come to you live from Kampala, Uganda. It's 24 minutes past 1 a.m. So, but yeah, anything else that you'd want us to touch on about Arsenal, about PSG, Barcelona, any team, no discrimination. Albeit it's been a Champions League night. Now, tomorrow there's action in the UEFA Europa League and the UEFA Conference League. Aston Villa are at home against Nottingham Forest. Aston Villa are a goal to nil behind on aggregate. We're talking about an Aston Villa side that have lost the last 3 consecutive games. Against Fulham by a goal to nil. They lost to Nottingham Forest by a goal to nil, and then they lost to Tottenham Hotspur by 2 goals to 1. Then Freiburg, who are 2-1 behind against Braga, take on Braga tomorrow at home. Then in the UEFA Conference League, Crystal Palace are up against Shakhtar Donetsk. Crystal Palace have a 3-1 lead against Shakhtar Donetsk, while Strasbourg are up against Rayo Vallecano. Rayo Vallecano lead that side by a goal to nil. So those are the 4 games that you should anticipate tomorrow. All kickoff is at 10 p.m. East African time, or 8 p.m. UK time, European time. I know for Turkey we share the similar hours, but yeah. Guys, allow me wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Chesinia. It's going to be a tongue twister for me, so if I mispronounce it, please, lend me the courtesy of being kind. Ash, thank you so much. Then Africa will never unite. It's been a pleasure. Unknown user, thank you so much. Ian Kato, thank you so much. And Prince, it was a pleasure. French fries, reluctant gamer, Raymond Kangumba, and every single one of you. This is well Amen, my friend. Let me tell you, Arsenal can win nothing this season. That is well Amen. Okwagala ebirimu ebyo. Okwagala kulimu ebiri mu ebyo. I did not get that clearly what you meant. Okay. Well says Amen. Amen says Arsenal will not win anything. Nothing is guaranteed in life. Nothing is guaranteed in life. if they are to win something, they have to work for it. I tried to translate it to Luganda for you. Okay, okay. No, I know Luganda, but like the statement did not make the perfect sense. Okwagala, it means to love or to want something, depending on context. Then when you say ebirimu, the things in ebyo, bio can mean so many things, but with patterning things. Okay. I love your content. Thank you so much. I hope you've liked the broadcast, but also you subscribe to the channel. But thank you so much for your kindness. So about the Arsenal not winning anything, like I said, they have to work for it. Nothing is going to be handed to them on a silver platter. Whether it's the Premier League title, whether it's the UEFA Champions League, they have to work for it. With the Champions League, they put themselves in a good place. They are in the final. When you're in the final, you have a 50% chance of winning it. Of course, your opponent may be better than you, that because of them being better in terms of their squad, they could have a bigger chance of winning it than you are. But usually a final is a final. Anything can happen. We've seen underdogs take on teams, and they win, So anything can happen with that. Then when it comes to the Premier League title, it's now in their hands. It's back in their destiny. It's up to them to self-determine their own destiny. All they need to do is win your last 3 games and the Premier League title is yours. If they cannot get that job done, they will only have it on themselves to blame, But let's hope they do not sleep again. But I don't know what team you support. You could be maybe, I don't know, a rival fan or something. Okay, goodbye to you. Thank you so much for having been part of the broadcast. For all of you that have managed to catch it, it's been a pleasure. Allow me to wish you a blessed night. Let's do this again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the routine weekly morning broadcast. Otherwise, stay blessed and have yourselves a good night. Tomorrow, remind me to wear my microphones so that we have better audio quality, so that I do not need to overly stretch my voice, so that you guys can hear what I have to say. But stay blessed, and until next time. Bye-bye for now.